Hello everyone, and welcome to my Magicka Warden PvP build guide. So recently I've decided to try out Magden, and after just first couple BGs I faced harsh reality of it in PvP. Anyway, despite all the struggles with this class, I gave it my best, watched a lot of builds on YouTube and tried different sets, skills and playstyles to figure out how I can make it decent. And I think I kinda did it. I will give my class overview in the end of the video, and now I'll talk about sets and skills first as usual. The main 5-piece set I use in this build is Wretched Vitality. I think last time I was using 5-piece recovery set was 2019 or 2020, when Eternal Vigor was the meta. I didn't really feel the need to waste full set on recovery since then. But trust me, on this build this is the way. Unless you are playing Breton, this is my deep belief, you won't be able to sustain without Wretched. For example, I am a Dark Elf and I run Trainee Mondas, 1-piece recovery monster set and Wretched Vitality. And I still need to heavy attack sometimes. So Wretched Vitality is a must here in my opinion. It's very easy to proc because it procs off of any minor and major buffs on any target. So armor buffs and damage buffs, which we keep at all times anyway, will make the uptime constant. My backbar set on this build is Rallying Cry. As you can tell, I really like this set, and in my opinion it's the best PvP set in the game currently. Other good options would be Perfected Loremia, Clever Alchemist or Shattered Fate, but for that you will need to switch Wretched to backbar instead. I use 1-piece recovery monster set, and here you can use 1-piece Trainee or penetration piece. And lastly, the bread and butter of this build are Master's Ice Staff and Sea Serpent's Coil Mythic, which in total take just 3 pieces and give us 1k plus weapon and spell damage and 10% damage done. I was also trying Asylum stuff, but honestly I feel like 600 damage is just too good to pass on. With that being said, you can still use Asylum stuff if you want instead of Masters, but I personally liked Masters more. Now to the skills. On the front bar I have Destructive Reach, Deep Fissure, Crush and Shock, Bird of Prey, Living Trellis and Dawnbreaker of Smiting. Destructive Reach is our way to proc Master stuff, apply Shield status effect and do some nice dot damage. I personally don't like using it as a spammable though, so I use it as a semi-spammable every couple skills just to keep up the damage buff. And as my main spammable I really like Crush and Shock, which is a really good skill that also interrupts our enemies if they are casting and puts them off balance. Deep Fissure is our another strong semi-spammable, which also applies major and minor breach to the target. Bird of Prey gives us speed boost, immobility and minor berserk. Living Trellis is a nice heal over time, which also does a burst heal when it ends. You can also run a Lich and Vines morph here. And honestly it might be better because it heals for more, and I guess we don't really need that burst heal in the end. So I might end up using Lich and Vines after all. And finally, Dawnbreaker of Smiting is our ultimate, which does a lot of damage and stuns our enemies. Here are some other options you can use on front bar. Entropy is a good dot that also heals you. Growing Swarm is also a strong dot, although it costs quite a bit of Magicka compared to Entropy. Inner Light is a source of crit buffs if you don't run Lotus Blossom on your backbar, and it will also give you 1k Magicka and a bit of mag recovery from Mage's Guild passives. Revealing Flare passively gives us 10% damage reduction and 10% magic recovery. Finally, you can use Elemental Weapon as your spammable instead of Crush and Shock, or even try to use Cliff Racer instead. On my backbar I have Polar Wind, Ice Fortress, Resolving Vigor, Betting Edge, Lotus Blossom and Healing Thicket. Polar Wind is our class burst heal and heal over time. It costs a lot of Magicka and scales off of your max HP, but it's still the best burst heal on Magden, so we kinda have to use it. Ice Fortress is our armor buff and it also gives us 5% damage mitigation. Resolving Vigor is our universal burst heal, which also gives us minor resolve. Betting Edge is our recovery tool as well as damage buff and cleanse. Lotus Blossom is our crit buff and it also heals us when we are doing damage, which is also super useful. And finally, Healing Thicket is our defensive ultimate, which is super cheap and strong. Here you can also run Northern Storm or Temporal Guard if you'd like. I personally prefer Healing Ultimate just because I find myself in tricky situations quite a lot and this skill helps me greatly. And now let's get to class overview. Thing number 1 is Sustain. This is the first and the most obvious thing that you will notice when playing Magden. I don't like to say a lot of stuff for sure about this class, but with Sustain I'm pretty damn sure it is the worst Sustain in the game. Without Wretched Vitality or Breton, you might as well just not play it honestly. The solution, like I already said, is Wretched, Trainee Mondas, Sustain Food, maybe also 1-piece recovery like I run on this build, or just be Breton. Thing number 2 is damage. I don't think it's super bad, but compared to a lot of other classes I'd say it's not super good either. Although stacking a lot of spell damage definitely helps, so it feels decent enough on Magden. Thing number 3 is healing and survivability. Healing is good, but it comes from stacking a lot of heals rather than having one strong burst heal or so. I run Polar Wind, Vigor, Lotus Blossom, Leeching Vines and Healing Ultimate. That way I'm okay. But if I'll drop even one of them, I will already feel the consequences. Talking about survivability, it's good because of healing, but it's bad because of lack of stamina. You can't really roll dodge, break free, block or run that much compared to Stamden. However, you have more Magicka and Magicka sustain than Stamden, so that negate your lack of stamina. If you keep in mind all of these things and be playing wise around them, Magden can be pretty good. I think it's very fun to play, and it's a nice diversity from playing the same builds over and over. I personally really like to play around with Magicka spec because of all the cool looking skills and Frost theme. Although I still wouldn't advise to 1vx with good players. That didn't really work well for me. 1v1 though is fine, and you can even hold your ground against OP DK players, at least for some time. So here you have it, a pretty solid in my opinion Magden build. Be sure to give it a go. Thank you all for watching and goodbye.